Brock, you are a man who is literally interrupting wedding festivities right now to do this interview. That is dedication, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I think it'd be more of a problem if I was interrupting my own wedding. That'd be an issue there.
Very true, very true. We're not causing any problems right now?
No, nothing at all.
Okay, very good. Then let's get to the real stuff. You're a guy who played in both the NCAA tournament and the NIT, and when the standard for BYU hoops under Dave Rose is winning conference championships and making the NCAA tournament, what kind of attitude do you think the Cougars this year will take into the NIT?
I think obviously don't know for sure. I think everybody's guess is that they'll be in the NIT just because of how they finished out the season in the tournament, but might be a little bit disappointed. I think everybody who has tasted that tournament and whose expectation coming into BYU, the program, that's all we want to do is make it to the tournament. So it might have a little bit of disappointment on Sunday if they haven't already come to that realization. But the preparation, it'll be the same. My mindset should be the same. All those guys, I know most of them, and they're dedicated, right? They know that there is still a lot of games left to be played, and there's a lot of good good teams that will be in this tournament. So their mindset should be the same as if they're going into the NCAA or even something, any other tournament that was out there.
Brock, you referenced it. I mean, you said there will be some fans that just aren't excited about going to the NIT. What would you say to those Cougar fans that say, you know what, I'm not buying into this?
I'd tell them not to watch.
That's fair.
No, I don't know. BYU's fans are great. They're really dedicated. It shows, and when I played, going out to Portland or going out to any away game and feeling like it was a home game, and that's been the case, for a long time now. So I think that it just comes with the territory, right? That they're so dedicated and so passionate that that's the way it'll end up being. But I think that we'll get over it and we'll push forward. I think the same feeling was happening when we made that run. And after a game or two, it was exciting. It was fun because we were going to make a run. We realized that it was time to lace them up and go again, and we're not going to leave anything but our best out there. So maybe a game or two, but it'll get exciting because this team can make a run.
Let's talk a little bit more about that memorable run in the NIT, including, on your part, a 23-point outburst with 5 3-pointers against a number 1 seed in the NIT Southern Miss that put BYU into the Final Four at Madison Square Garden in New York. What do you remember most about that NIT run?
And that's what's funny. That game in particular, as far as individual games are concerned for me, one of my favorite games of all time that I played at BYU. So even though it wasn't NIT, it would have been maybe even that more heightened if it was in the NCAA tournament. But those type of games can be had, and that excitement of going to Southern Miss. I think they had lost at home in, I want to say 30-plus games or something ridiculous like that. So it was fun to go in there. The atmosphere, they sold out the whole season at home as well. So it was a fun atmosphere to be in, to be a part of, and to get that win to go to Madison Square Garden to play in the NIT Final Four.
How do the coaches handle NIT preparation? Is it just like any other game? Is it closer to an NCAA tournament game? What was the preparation like? What did the coaches have you guys going through ahead of that run that you guys went on?
Yeah, it's just as intense as anything else. I remember going into, I guess I knew how much time the coaches put in, but there was one game in particular where I think we finished late, and I was going to get a snack or something like that in the middle of the night. I was too wired from winning the game before, but they were in one of the conference rooms in the hotel. I think it was middle of the night, like 2 in the morning or something like that. So their preparation is as intense as ever. So they'll get the guys ready, and their game plans will be on point. They'll have plenty of film to review for the teams that are coming up. So coaches they'll have the team well prepared to go into the game, whoever they play.
Former BYU basketball guard Brock Zylstra. Follow him on the Twitter machine at Brock Zylstra, joining us on BYU Sports Nation. What do you make of BYU's season to this point? They've had some really good wins when you look at beating St. Mary's and winning at Gonzaga, and then the head-scratching losses against Pacific and Portland. So what do you make of this season?
It's funny. I told any game that we went up against, any big-time team, I would tell anybody, I wouldn't be surprised if we blew them out. It just seemed like they have, and I know that they have the ability and the talent to beat anybody. I mean, if they were to get selected to the NCAA tournament, which it's probably not going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised they made a run there as well. They have the talent. I mean, they have shooters in Chase and Nick, and have playmakers, obviously, in Kyle, and then have some post presence where, I mean, Corbin and Kyle dominate the boards at times. So I think that they've had a successful season, of course, over 20 wins again for Coach Rosen for a BYU team, but fell a little bit short in some of those games that you talked about against Portland and some of those lower-ranked WCC teams. So fun at times, but also frustrating with some of those games that were should have had, of course.
Brock, realizing that there's still games to play, so his career is not over in a BYU uniform, but how will you remember Kyle Collinsworth's time as a Cougar?
I think the biggest stat about Kyle is he leads BYU all-time in rebounds and assists. I mean, that is – I don't know if I've heard a stat like that.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's insane. So, and I think he's coming up on – steals as well. I was sitting with Jackson at the WCC tournament. I think he's 20 away from Jackson or something like that. So it's remarkable. I mean, he's a Swiss Army knife for sure. He can score when he needs to. Obviously can pass the ball and rebounds well especially for a point guard. So I guess he rebounds well for a big man as well. But he's just a phenomenal player. I really hope that he gets a shot to play in the NBA, and I'm sure that he will get looks for sure, and I think he'll make the most of it.
In a way, it's kind of a passing of the torch from Kyle Collinsworth to Nick Emery when you talk about, the old veteran who's done it all, and now kind of one of the guys that's the new face of BYU basketball with his bullish attitude, and he's, Nick Emery believes he's going to find a way. He's not afraid to take the big shot. So what was the most impressive thing that you saw from Nick Emery, not just in the West Coast Conference tournament when you were watching with his brother Jackson, but over the whole course of the season?
I think that what I love about Nick, I think what has really helped him as well is that coach trusts him, right? As a freshman, you don't get that very often where Coach Rose will totally put trust in a freshman. And then I like his attitude as far as he's not scared. I mean, he'll be in your face on defense, but also he'll take, like you said, the big shot. I remember down there in the WCC, one of the shots where he came up, pulled and transitioned in a three. I think it was like 1-on-3, and he made it. But I think he's got a special feature in front of him. I think that he might actually break all the records that are out there as far as scoring is concerned. So he's got a bright future, and I think it'll just help when he gets the familiarity of playing with Eric and playing with TJ. He's, like I said, bright future ahead of him, and I think that he's ready for that to come up with him.
You touched on some of the players coming in, and these are players that Cougar fans have been talking about for years, and now they're all going to finally be on the court together. You mentioned, TJ and Eric Mika will come back, and Peyton Dastrup will be coming back, and there's all these guys that have been talked about for so long. When you look at the future of BYU basketball, what stands out to you?
The biggest thing I think is excitement. I think for everybody who talks about, obviously we're not writing off this year because there's still a lot of basketball left to be played, but coming up in the next few years, it's exciting. It's exciting to see the guys that have played with each other for years and years and years, and it's hard to build that chemistry at times with guys who've maybe thrown together with some JC transfers or with guys that have come back on their missions, but these guys have some history together. So it's fun or exciting to look at that in the future, look down the road, and then see what the possibilities are. And I think that these guys can make a deep run in the NCAA tournament with post presence and guard play, and they have some wings coming as well. So I'm excited for the future, and it's great to see it. They not only have a couple of years to play together, but they have legitimately 3 or 4 years that all these guys will be together and be able to build every year on top of each other.
Talking with Brock Zylstra, former BYU basketball guard. When will the Cougars beat Gonzaga for a West Coast Conference title? Regular season or tournament, either one?
Oh, man, that makes me mad. We should have. I mean, we should have had them. Many years we should have had them. But I think that it'll be. I mean, next year. But I would almost bet that it'd be in the next 2 years. I mean, once we get those guys coming off missions, there's obviously a little bit of. Just we didn't see it too much with Nick, but maybe a little bit of a transitional period, and then the following year we can. I would say almost, a sure bet that we could beat them 2 years from now. But I wouldn't put it past them to beat them next year.
You heard the man. He says in the next 2 years. Okay, Brock, enjoy the wedding, eat a lot of cake, do your thing over there. And you
I don't need any more cake.
But you just do the dancing afterwards. The dancing afterwards can be your cardio.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
You should know that I have a picture saved in my phone after you got fouled against Iona and that 25-point comeback that will be in my phone forever. You know the picture I'm talking about.
I do. My brother calls it the walrus. So, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Brock, thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.